भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवाः भद्रं पश्येम अक्षभिः यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैर्तुष्ट्वांसस्तनूभिः वशेम देवहितं यदायुः स्वस्ति नः इन्द्रो वृद्धश्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नः तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्टनेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्ददातु ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः यो अन्तः प्रविश्य मम वाच इमां प्रसुप्तां सञ्जीवयति अखिलशक्तिधरस्वधाम्ना अन्यांष्टहस्तचरणश्रवणत्वगादीन् प्राणान् नमो भगवते पुरुषाय तुभ्यं लसतु श्रीमदानन्दतीर्थेन्दुर्नो हृदम्बरे यद्वचश्चन्द्रिका स्वान्तसन्तापं विनिकृन्तति पदवाक्यप्रमाणज्ञान् प्रणम्य शिरसा गुरून् व्याकरिष्ये यथाभूतं विष्णुतत्त्वविनिर्णयम्. So good morning, good afternoon, friends who have joined from various parts. So we are doing Tritiya Mundake, Pratama Khandaha. We have done the first three mantras and we are in the fourth mantra. प्राणो हि एष सर्वभूतैर्विभाति विजानन् विद्वान् भवते नातिवादी आत्मक्रीडः आत्मरतिः क्रियावान् एष ब्रह्मविदां वरिष्ठः. So we are in the fourth verse. Let's think about all the rishis, Angira, Satyavaha, Angirasa and Shuanaka and all the acharyas who have given us the commentaries on this amazing Upanishad. The Devata, of course, is the Aksharanamaka Paramatma, who is celebrated in various names in this Upanishad, but let's not forget it's the Aksharanamaka Paramatma who is the Devata of this Upanishad, and there are Anushtup and other Chandas here. So what did we do last time? So last week, we spent actually quite a lot of time thinking about what this philosophy of prana actually is. Who is this prana is what we were discussing last week. So a quick recap. So whenever the word prana comes in the Upanishad, first we need to think about the etymology. What does that prana actually mean? So what is the etymology of prana? Pra and ana. Pra can be para or prakrishta. Para means something that is totally different and the highest. Prakrishta. Ana. Anacheshtayam anagato. Anacheshta. He who does all the activities. Anagato. He who is all pervasive. So when you do the etymology in this combination, you get various meanings and for our contemplation. Yeah. So remember, our names of Paramatma or adjectives, they give us an attribute of the Paramatma. Yeah, a quality of the Paramatma. He is Gunapurna. He is the abode of infinite auspicious attributes which we never should forget. Yeah. And the word prana gives us an opportunity to contemplate those attributes. Okay. So Anacheshtayam anagatav. Then of course the next level, next what we should do is once we have understood the etymology, then we will say, so in this Upanishad, what is the context in which this word prana is coming from? Is it the vital air or the breath or the energy which is very physiological? The pranamaya kosha that is described, which is one of the coverings of this body. So you have the annamaya, pranamaya, then manonmaya, Vijnanamaya and Anandamaya. So the 5 layers of the material body, if you want to think about that, the second one is the Pranamaya Kosha, the energy layers, okay, that makes this body active. Yeah. So that could be the vital breath, the vital air or the energy. Okay. And then you have the other pranas that are described in the Upanishads, and we need to be very careful with regards to what is the context. So in the Mundaka Upanishad itself, we have done it last week. So Shapta Pranaha. So pranas can mean Indriya Abhimani Devatas or Indriyas. They are also called pranas. Then you have so many Upa Pranas. Then in the Vedic literature, you have 49 pranas and then plus one Mukhya Prana, who is also called Madhyama Prana. Okay, so there are 50 pranas, there are all these indriyas, there are vital breath and energy. But controlling all these, okay, that is what we are interested in, and that is what Angirasa is teaching us. Yeah, who is controlling all this? Who is controlling Madhyama Prana or Mukhya Prana? Who is controlling all the Upa Pranas, all the Indriya Abhimani Devatas, and all the vital air, breath and energy that is there? That person is the Pranasya Pranaha. So there are at least 4 levels in which we need to place the meaning of the word prana when it comes in the Upanishad. So here it is very easy, right? Prano hi esha sarva bhutair vibhati. Here we are talking about the antaryamin. That is the philosophy of Angirasa. Okay, we may go to various pilgrimages and we may search for God externally, but the Upanishads view is very, very, very clear. 100%. The Upanishad rishis tell us first search him inside you. Okay? If you don't make an effort to search him inside you, there is no point in searching for him outside because you will never reach him. Yeah, Duratsa Dure, that verse is coming next in this Upanishad that gives us a bit of a warning as to how we should approach this issue of Antaryami Upasana. So we understand that prana Brahma eva. So that is what we established last week. Whenever I say prana in the Parama Mukhya Vritti, that is in the ultimate meaning, it is that pranasya pranaha, who is called as prana Brahma eva. So that has been settled by all the three acharyas. They have taken different Vishaya Vakyas, but they all agree that prana in the ultimate sense means Brahma eva. And how is that being settled? So that is being settled in Brahma Sutra. Okay, so we know the Brahma Sutra or Vedanta Sutra, which is also called Shariraka Sutra, that gives us the rules of how to interpret the verses of the Upanishads, Aranyakas, and Brahmanas and Samhitas. That is basically the Vedas, how to read the Vedas, how to understand the Vedas. So, Brahma Sutra, as you know, is called Nirnayaka Shastra, and the Vedas are called Nirnaya Shastra. So, that for the purport of which needs to be established, you use a dictionary or the rules of interpretation, which is the Vedanta Sutra. So in that, the very first pada, okay, in the first adhyaya actually gives you the rules as to how you should interpret the Vedas. So this is another important message for us is, if anybody says they want to talk about the Vedas, unless they use Vedanta Sutras and teachers, that particular interpretation of the Vedas should be rejected. It is Aparavidya. Only when you use Brahma Sutra and understand the Vedas, then it becomes a Paravidya. Brahma Sutra itself is Paravidya, and when you use Brahma Sutra and understand the Vedas, that becomes Paravidya. That is what Angirasa started off in the very first section that we did about a year and a half ago, where he defined what is Paravidya, what is Aparavidya. So let's pull back to this verse. So, Pranadikaranam, Antaryami Pranadikaranam. These are the two important, sutras, these important adhikaranams in the first adhyaya that Veda Vyasa, our founding father, who is Sriman Narayana himself, settles who is Prana, Brahma Eva. So, Ata Eva Om, Ata Eva Pranaha Om. The Vishaya Vakya from this is Taitreya Aranyaka. Tadvai Tvam Prano Abhavaha Mahan Bogaha Prajapatehe Bujaha Karishyamano Yad Devan Pranayo Nava. So all the Devas worship you. Pranayo Nava. You are the one who is the enjoyer of everything, says Taitreya Aranyaka. That prana then has to be the Antaryami Purushottama himself. Ata eva pranaha. Then there is another adhikaranam called Antaryami Pranadhikaranam. So our gurus teach us this is the master key for understanding the Samanvaya Adhyaya. Pranastata Anugamat. And again, the Vishaya Vakya for this comes from Aitareya Aranyaka, which is part of the Rig Veda. Okay. So Taitreya Aranyaka is part of the Yajurveda, Krishna Yajurveda. So this is in Rig Veda. Sa Esha Asuhu, Sa Esha Pranaha, Aitareya Aranyaka, which also says Sa Esha Pranaha. So that Brahman is Prana. Tava Eta Sarvaha Richaha, Sarve Vedaha, Sarve Goshaha. Ekayeva Vyahritihi Prana Eva Prana Richa Iti Eva Vidyat. Aitareya Aranyaka. These are all some of the most profound verses. Now, Aitareya Aranyaka 223. Okay. When Vishwamitra is doing Brihati Sahasra Homa, okay, as instructed by Indra, then the Antaryamin inside Indra is pleased. And then when Vishwamitra says, who are you? And then this is the verse. Prano va aham asmi rishehe. Pranastvam pranaha sarvani bhutani. Clear statements. Yeah. Pranaha sarvani bhutani. I am the antaryamin of everybody. Yeah. Ata devarataha tasya vaguditaha shrotre pakshasi chakshusi yukte manaha sangrahita tadayam prano aditishtati. This prana is inside everything. Yeah. Vishnu Sahasranamaha, Vaikuntaha, Purushaha, Pranaha, Pranadaha. Okay, Kavita ji was asking some doubt about what that Pranadaha means, and I've sent her some references for that. So Pranaha means Vishnu there. Purusha Shukta says Pranad Vayu Rajayataha. This Vayu or Madhyama Pranaha or Mukhya Pranaha, he comes from the breath of Brahman. That is why he is also called Prana or Adama Pranaha. Keno Upanishad, when Rudra is asking that question to Chaturmukha Brahma, who is the one who is controlling everything? Shotrasya Shrotram, Manasa Mano, Yad Vachoha Vacham, Savu, Pranasya Pranaha. Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, again the Vishaya Vakya for that is Om, Pranadayo Vakya Sheshat Om, Pranasya Pranam. Okay. So the reason why I'm giving you all these references is this is a summary of all the pranas that our Veda Vyasa, our Guru has actually given us a reference that establishes prana brahma eva. Okay, so there can be no doubts there. So here I have a question. Think about this. When you go to the temple or when a temple is being established, they say prana pratishtha. Yeah. So who is going to tell us what is prana pratishtha or what is their understanding of prana pratishtha? So who wants to tell us about that and share their ideas, please? What is prana pratishtha in temples or any puja? So when you get your purohita to come and do some puja at home, he will be doing this prana pratishtha first, and then only the whole puja starts. So that becomes important. Prana pratishtha means consecration of an image or some deity that you have at home. You do the consecration of that through certain processes that are the vidhis that are described in the Vedas, where this prana we know is anagato. Anagato means that which is all pervasive. Okay. But still, if you have a deity before you do the puja, you have to get that into your contemplation. That prana who is there everywhere. So you do some rituals to remind yourself that this prana is there here. So this prana is in this vigraha. So I am going to do puja to this. Yeah. So prana pratishtha is not that term is not there by chance, where that prana there means this Brahman, this Paramatma. Okay, think about the prana pratishtha. So what does this prana do then? Okay, that we did very briefly at the tail end of last week. So what was it? Prano hi esha sarvabhutair vibhati vijanan vidwan bhavate nativadi. So vibhati we understood. Vibhati means that he is inside all these bhutas as a light. Light means knowledge. In full of knowledge, he is inside the jivas. Vibhati, vilakshana, visesha, visishta, bhati. So he who knows this, that there is this prana who is my antaryamin, Angirasa says he certifies them, vijanan vidwan bhavate nativadi. Okay. So we did two ways of understanding this last week. Bhavate na ativadi. So this guy he talks less. He avoids useless conversations. He's always in silent contemplation about the Paramatma. But he is also doing a lot of work. He's not that he's sitting idly. He's doing a lot of work. Kriyavan. What is he doing? He is rejoicing. Atma Kridahava. Atma Ratihi. He's rejoicing this Paramatma who is inside him, and he is playing with him. Okay? That is one meaning of that. The other way of interpreting Vijanan Vidwan Bhavate Nativadi is Bhava Tena Ativadi. So this guy is so excited about this Paramatma who is inside him. Remember, we are talking about Aparoksha Jnana. He's seeing this Aparoksha Jnana and he's super excited. And he cannot stop by without praising and rejoicing this Paramatma as Atma Kridaha, Atma Ratihi, Kriyavan. Okay. And today we have the third meaning of this before we move to the next verse. Okay. So We now know that he is prano he esha, that he is inside all the, he is inside all the jivatmas, he is inside as Paramatma, he is called prana, he is doing various activities. Just knowing that alone, is that enough for our salvation or progress is another question. Okay? Is just knowing him as prana inside all jivas enough? Not necessarily. So, not just knowing that there is an antaryami inside me is a good first step. But then we need to go deeper and understand who that person is, what does he do, and then understand his greatness. Then we try and establish a relationship with him. Then we start liking him. Then we start adoring him. Then we develop the sense of devotion or bhakti. Then eventually that grace comes along, and then there is salvation. Okay, so there is a whole lot of steps involved here. So that is what Angirasa is saying here. He who knows just this Paramatma as prana and he is inside on bhutas is not enough, because if he just knows that, he is just like the number one category in the sense that he knows him, but he knows less. He does not know everything. Bhavate nativadi. He does not know everything. Okay. How should this Brahman be known as then? Brahman should be known as Atma Kridaha, Atma Ratihi, Kriyavan. Okay, he is not Nirguna Brahman for God's sake. The Angirasa is saying he is Atma Kridaha. Krida Matram Prabho Srishtihi. He's in full action. He's constantly doing stuff. He's not a inert, useless entity that is there. Atma Ratihi, he's infinitely blissful. Blissfulness is a quality. Atma Kridava, action, actorship is a quality. Kriyavan, Sarvakarta, he does everything. That is a quality. Yeah, it is not Nirguna Brahman, useless, zero entity. Yeah, Angirasa's language is very clear here. He is actually taking us to the highest levels of philosophy, linking it up with Brahma Sutra. Janmadhyasya yataha, he who is the creator of everything. Okay? But his creatorship is Krida Matram Prabhu. It is not that he has to put a lot of effort and create this universe. Lokavattu Leela Kaivalyam is just a playful act for him. Yeah. He is infinitely blissful. Anandamayo Bhyasa. The very first Samanvaya Sutra of Brahma Sutra is this one, the 12th verse. Anandamayo Bhyasa. Atmaratihi. Okay. Kriyavan. Jagat Vyaparavarjam. All the activities of the universe he only does. Okay. So Veda Vyasa kind of settles this for all of us. Yeah. So Janmadhyasya yataha lokavat lila kaivalyam anandamayo bhyasad jagat vyaparavarjam. So we need to know this Paramatma, that he's a person who does all this. Okay. Another thing that we also remember here is his action is non-different from him. His qualities are non-different from him. We need to get all these ideas in. If we think his action is different from him or his quality is different from him, we are doomed for eternal hells, says the Vedas. Okay. He who knows this, Eshaha Brahmavidam Varishtaha. That person who actually understands this Antaryaman in this perspective is the real knower of Brahman. And he is the highest knower of Brahman. So that Brahma becomes interesting there. That Brahma there means Brahman, who is being celebrated as Prana. Brahma, as you also know, is Veda. Okay? So he who knows Brahman as this through the Veda, he is Varishta, he is the highest. Okay. So that is the meaning of this, that is the contemplation of this verse. Prano hi esha sarva bhutair vibhati vijanan vidwan bhavate nativadi atma kridaha atmaratihi kriyavan yesha brahmavidam varishtaha. So the next question, of course, is just by knowing him as all this. Okay, I now understood he is prana. Now I understood he is my antarayaman. He is that full of knowledge. He is inside everybody. That he is the creator of the universe and he looks after everything. He is the kriyavan. He is infinitely blissful. So in the first line, vibhati means infinitely omniscient. Okay, and then Atmarati, he means he is full of Jnanananda, Anandamaya. So he is Jnananandamaya. I've understood all this. Is that enough for our salvation? Can we become Aparoksha Jnanin just by that? By just knowing him, will we reach Brahman? Is the question there. which Angirasa takes up in the next verse. So before we go to the next verse, so who is going to give us a flavor or view of what is it that Angirasa is talking about us? Just by knowing this from the Vedas, can we reach Brahman? Is knowledge alone liberating? Is the question here. Some folks think knowledge alone is liberating, but some folks don't. So what is our view here? So who wants to contribute, please?
Madhuji, maybe I could try.
Yeah, thank you.
Knowledge is liberating, perhaps is, it's jnana sarva karmani. Knowledge certainly does liberate, but I don't think one gets that knowledge without the grace of the Lord. So it is grace leading to knowledge, which leads to liberation, is how I had at least understood.
Fantastic, Sureshji. Thank you very much. Perfect thought process there and answer. Thank you, Sureshji. So,
Madhuji.
yeah, Sheilaji, go for it.
Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasana is the way it's told in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah, so after doing all that, if we get, by God's grace, we are getting all this knowledge, but knowledge alone, unless it's practiced and got become one with the knowledge, I don't think we will reach Brahman. I know it says Brahma Vidam Brahmeva Bhavati or something in the Upanishads, but God's grace is most important because we have it. That's why we are listening to all this. But I thought we have to do the Nididhyasana aspect, till Nididhyasana aspect, isn't it?
Sure, Sheilaji. So what happens after Nididhyasana? So let's say we do Shravana, Manana, and Dhyana of all these verses, such as including this verse, and we are doing Dhyana of that. Then the question there is that knowledge itself is liberating or not is the question. Because let's not forget, knowledge is an insentient thing. Knowledge is a jada. It is on its own is not capable of doing anything. It is an insentient concept. So it needs something behind it to try and liberate it. Yeah, thank you very much, Sheilaji, for that interesting ideas. Yeah, thank you. So,
Matsuji, once I remember you talking about this Jaitirtha's that quote, unless we know him, we cannot see him. And unless we see him, we cannot get his grace. So the grace comes only when we see him, no?
Yeah, that is also true. Yeah, but thank you, Pratibhaji. That is also true. But also, as what Sheila ji was saying, in every aspect of what we do, we need His grace. Even waking up tomorrow morning, unless there is His grace, we are not going to be able to wake up even tomorrow morning. If our eyesight needs to be fine, we need His grace. Anything can happen to anybody's eye at any time. We may not be able to read the Vedas. So yeah, you are absolutely right from a Jayatirtha's perspective, which gives the full summary of what is going on here. Yeah, so let's move on. So thanks everyone for that very good contribution. Yeah, so we have just done this with regards to the third aspect. So we need, how do we do this? How does we actually just knowing the knowledge itself is enough, or something else needs to happen? So immediately Angirasa, as Sureshji very beautifully pointed out, is reminding us here, is reminding Shuanaka, who is a big doer of yajnas. He says, Satyena labhyaha tapasahi esha atma samyak jnanena brahmacharyena nityam antah sharire jyotirmayo hi shubbraha yam pashyanti yatayaha kshina doshaha. So this is what is the answer there. Satyena labhyaha. Okay, we might read as much as we want, but he can be labhyaha, attained. Satyena labhyaha. Okay, so that is a very, very important verse, because from now on for the next 2 or 3 verses, Angirasa is going to constantly use Satya, Satyena labhyaha, Satyameva jayati, Satya pantaha. This is what he is going to say. Okay. So understanding what is that actually Satyena that this Angirasa is talking so much in the next 3 verses becomes an important idea. So Shravana, Manana, Dhyana is important, but that alone cannot be liberating, because Satyena labhyaha tapasa hi esha atma. So let's think about the word Satyam. So look, this is the beauty of this Upanishad. So in this particular Khanda, we started off with talking about prana. First, of course, Akshara Namaka Paramatma. The Akshara is the name for the Paramatma that is celebrated in the Upanishad. That Paramatma, of course, has got infinite names, right? So including prana, which has been described. And in the very first word, it also described suparana, dva suparana. And then he said anashnan anyaha abhichakashiti is the other suparana. He also celebrated this Brahman as suparana. Then he talked about prana. Now he says satyena labhyaha. Okay, so I just want to break for a minute. So, who or what is Satyam of the Upanishads? We have done it so many times, but I think, as I said, Avrittihi Asakrita Upadesha. Every time we have an opportunity, we need to think about the Satyam, because unless we understand what is that Satyam of the Upanishads, we actually cannot understand the next 3 verses that Angirasa is going to be talking to us about. So, what is Satyam? What is our view of Satyam, please, in the Upanishads?
Okay.
Yeah, so Neeta ji go first and then Suresh can come later. Yeah. Neeta, Sushru.
He's the controller of like 8-fold dispensations that we do. Jnana, Adhyana, Bandha, Moksha.
Excellent answer,
And
Neeta ji.
then also he is a controller of liberated and the non-liberated souls.
Yeah, fantastic. Neeta ji, I think you captured some important ideas. We'll go to Suresh and then to Anand.
Satya Om, I mean, it's a name of Vishnu. So that's what I was
Thank you,
agreed with
Suresh ji.
Neeta
Yeah,
says.
yeah, correct answer. Anand?
So if we split the word Satyam, it is Sat, Ti, and Ya. Ya standing for knowledge, Ti standing for blissful, Sat standing for defectless. So it is Sadguna Swarupa or Gnanandamaya or Satchidananda Swarupa.
Lovely answer, Anand ji. Excellent. So we are all moving in the right direction with regards to what is Satyam. Okay, so let's think about who this Satyam is. Who is Satyam of the Upanishad? This particular slide gives you a summary of all the Satyams. If anybody thinks, and when they read this English transliteration, which actually makes me very sad, is Satyam translated literally as truth. Satyam means truth. It is truth, but there is more to it. Our rishis want us to think deeper levels of philosophy rather than just the truth. Yeah. So let's think about this. So Mundaka Upanishad, of course, the one that we are doing now, says Satyena Labhyaha. Yeah. So the same Mundaka Upanishad, Tadetat Satyam Mantreshu Kavayo. It said that. Look at Srimad Bhagavatam, Janmadhyasya Yato Anmayad Itaratashta Arteshva Vignaha Swarat. Tene Brahma Hrudayadi Kavaye Muhyanti Yatsurayah Tejovari Mrudam Yata Vinimayo Yatra Trisargo Mrusha Damnasvena Sada Nirasta Kuhakam Satyam Param Dhimahi. Isha Upanishad Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasya Abhihitam Mukam Tatvam Pushan Apavruno Satya Dharmaya Drishtaye. Isha Upanishad Satya. Taittiriya Upanishad becomes very, very important about the definition of Brahman. When you say Janmadhyasya Yataha, the definition of Brahman that Veda Vyasa is given is Janmadhyasya Yataha. Similar kind of definition is given in Taittiriya Upanishad. Taittiriya Upanishad, what is it? Om Brahma Vidapnoti Param Tadesha Abhyukta Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma. His name is Satyam. His name is Jnanam. His name is Anantam. And he is also called Brahma. Satyam. Satyameva Jayate Nanritam Jayati, which comes in the next verse, which we are going to discuss. Sa esho animna aitadatmyam idam sarvam tat satyam. Satyam. Who is that Satyam? Then, of course, some philosophers have kind of come up with their own interpretation of what the rest of the lines is. Saya esha anima aitadatmyam idam sarvam tat satyam sa atma tattvamasi shvetaketo. We have done this Chandogya Upanishad. The tattvamasi shvetaketo has to be read with the previous lines. Saha, yeshaha, anima, aitad atmyam, idam sarvam, tat satyam. Saha, Atma. We cannot, forget these words, swallow these words or use an eraser and rub it and then pick, oh, Tattvamasi, Tattvamasi. No, needs to be seen in context. What does it say, Chandogya Upanishad? Tat Satyam. Okay. We have done Srimad Bhagavatam again. Satyasya Satyam. Vishnu Sahasranama is the final answer to that. Satvikaha Satyaha is the name of Vishnu given in Vishnu Sahasranama. Chandogya Upanishad that Anandji was so beautifully mentioning. Sat, Ti and Yam. Sat in one sense, Sat means liberated. Ti means unliberated. Yam means who is Yamayati, regulator of both. Regulator of both the liberated and unliberated, as Neetaji was mentioning. Purusha Shukta says, Purusha eva idang sarvam yadbhutam yachabhavyam uta ambrutatvasya ishanaha. Watch those words. Uta, even amrutasya, the liberated, he is ishanaha, he is the controller. Okay, when the Purusha Shukta of the Rig Veda says that he is the controller of the liberated, means there must be somebody who needs to be controlled, and then there is the controller. There are two fellows there, not one. There is no IKEA in Purusha Shukta. Yeah, watch all these language. Some of us cannot be fooled with flowery language, and Krishna has actually told us very, very clearly, yeah, about reading the Vedas very, very carefully. Tani hava etani trini aksharani sat ti yam iti tad yat sat tad amrutam yat ti tan martyam ata yad yam tena ubau yachati yad enane ubhau yachati tasmad yam aharva evam with swargo lokameti. Clear verses of Chandogya Upanishad that is the meaning of Satyam that Neetaji beautifully explained to us about Satati and Yam. Okay, this is Paramatma. Okay? This is that person who is the controller, who is Prana. Isha, of course, talks about this Hiranmayena Patrena Satyasya Abhihitam Mukam. This Sat, we said Sat, Chit, Ananda is the definition of Brahman. Sat is Nirdusha, as Anandji so correctly mentioned. Sat means Nirdushta. Ya there means Chit. Ananda is Ti. So that Sat, Chit, Ananda, Maya is described by Satya. Sat Nirdushta. Ti means Tati. Tati means Ananda. Ya Yati, to go, to know, Jnana. Satyam equals Sat, Chit, Anandam. Again, the same Sat can be split and understood etymologically in 8 different ways. Sadbhava, Satta, Sada, Yat Sat, Tati Yamayati, Sadal, Avasada, Nirdushta, Avasada, and so much. What does it talk about? The eightfold dispensations of the universe. Again, Neetaji gave a correct answer there. The eightfold dispensations of the universe. Utpatti, Stitir, Samhara, Niyatir, Jnanam, Avruttihi, Bandha Moksha, Cha Purushad, Yasmat, Saharire Karat. Skanda Purana. Janmadhyasya yataha jagadvyapara varsham yato va imani bhutani jayante yena jatani jivanti yat prayanti abhisham vishanti tad vijignyasasva tad brahmeti samsara moksha sthiti bandha hetuhu. These are all the ideas of the Upanishads that is captured by that word Satya. Okay. Here is an important word. He is Satya because he is the creator of the universe. We are not Satya. We are not the creators of the universe. Some folks even think that they are the creators of the universe. Okay. We are not the creator of the universe. In that perspective, we are called Asatya. I just want to remind as to what is the Vedic language of Satya and Asatya. We are Asatya in the sense not that we don't exist. It is because we are not the creators of the universe, so we are Asatya. Whereas that guy is the creator of the universe, so he is called Satya. That does not mean we or the universe do not exist. Okay? Some folks may think that, okay? But that is not the view of the rishis, and that is not the view of the Vedas. Okay? So I hope you are able to go with me on this, that the Satya there primarily means it is a name of Paramatma. Okay? Like Prana is the name of Paramatma. Akshara is the name of Paramatma. Suparna is the name of Paramatma. Satya is the name of Paramatma. So Angirasa says this Prana, you can know him when? Divine grace, as Suresh and all of us here in the satsang can agree. There can be no doubts in this idea that divine grace alone can lead us to him. And Jayatirtha, as Pratibhaji mentioned, has given a beautiful verse that summarizes that. Satyena labhyaha. Look at Katha Upanishad. There is a very, very similar verse. Na ayamatma pravachanena labhyaha. Na medaya. Na bahuna shutena. Yam eva esha vrunute tena labhyaha. Tasya esha atma vivrunute tanun swam. Vrunute chooses. Vivrunute reveals. Tanun swam, his true divine form. Whatever, our satsangs are all directions, they are all steps in the right direction. But ultimately, it is he who chooses. That's Satya. So Satyena Labhyaha there, the first meaning is, it is the God, is the Paramatma who chooses to whom he should reveal himself. And Srimad Acharya in Brahma Sutra Bhashya gives a beautiful, beautiful verse there. Yato Narayana Prasadam Vrutena Mokshaha Nacha Jnanam Vina Atyartha Prasadaha Ato Brahma Jignasa Kartavyaha. We do Brahma Jignasa as what? Saye, Prana Esha, and all those are all Brahma Jignasa. We do that so that eventually we get this, His grace. Okay? And with His grace, we cannot get without the Jnana. And then with Jnana comes His Prasada, which is the grace, na moksha. Okay? So here, I think it is important to think about certain verses of the Gita here. So I'm going to call upon some of us to recite Gita chapter 11, 47, 48, and Gita chapter 11, 52 and 53, which give you similar ideas of grace. Krishna categorically says, without my grace, you have no future, Krishna. You have no future, Arjuna, Krishna is saying. So who wants to take 47, 48 and 52, 53, please? These are beautiful verses. Yeah, go for it, Anand.
श्रीभगवानुवाच मया प्रसन्नेन तवार्जुनेदं रूपं परं दर्शितम् आत्मयोगात् तेजोमयं विश्वम् अनन्तमाद्यं यन्मे त्वदन्येन दृष्टपूर्वं न वेदयज्ञाध्ययनैर्न दानैः न च क्रियाभिर्न तपोभिरुग्रैः एवं रूपः शक्यहं नृलोके द्रष्टुं त्वदन्येन कुरु प्रवीर.
Beautiful. Thank you very much, Anandji, for reciting one of your favorite chapters. Because here Krishna said, I have chosen you. Nobody else has seen this form. I am showing this form. I am gracing and showing this form. Who wants to take up 50 to 53? Neetaji, do you want to do that for us?
Yeah, okay. श्रीभगवानुवाच सुदुर्दर्शमिदं रूपं दृष्टवानसि यन्मम देवा अप्यस्य रूपस्य नित्यं दर्शनकाङ्क्षिणः नाहं वेदैर्न तपसा न दानेन न चेज्यया शक्य एवं विधो द्रष्टुं दृष्टवानसि मां यथा भक्त्या त्वनन्यया शक्यः अहमेवं विधोऽर्जुन ज्ञातुं द्रष्टुं च तत्त्वेन प्रवेष्टुं च परन्तप.
Beautiful, Neetaji and Anand. Thank you very much. So, Satyena Labhyaha, the word of the Mundaka Upanishad, Krishna shows this with this in this conversation with Arjuna that it is without my grace, nothing is possible. I cannot be seen. I cannot show, unless I am pleased with you, I cannot show you. Arjuna, I am very pleased with you, so I am showing you my Vishwarupa. Okay. So the divine grace in world philosophy is universal. The theistic schools of Vedanta, Tattvavada and Visishtadvaita place huge importance to divine grace. Yeah. And in Visishtadvaita, there is also a concept called Prapatti. So you can check what Prapatti means. That is a very interesting view of Visishtadvaita, but there is the element of grace there. When you surrender, you get his grace. Yeah. That is in theistic Vedanta, not only in the Vedic system, also in the world religions. In the Catholicism, divine grace is very important. In Judaism, divine grace is very important. The only school of philosophy that I have come across where grace has no place is Mayavada, where knowledge alone is liberating. There is no role for divine grace. However much the modern, YouTubers may want to claim that there is grace in Mayavada, it is not possible. Yeah, so we need to get this right. Mayavada, there is no role for grace. Why do we think that? Nirguna Brahman cannot shed any grace because grace means you have to have that attribute of shedding grace. Nirguna Brahman cannot shed any grace. Saguna Brahman is not existing. It is absolutely mithya. And I am Brahman is already pre-established. Okay. I am Brahman already. There is no need for grace to somebody to tell me that I am Brahman. I'm already Brahman. So for deep thinking philosophers, this is the problem with Mayavada. There is no role for grace. However, much people want to argue that there is actually no grace. The philosophies that I have come across and most other people describe is the Abrahamic religions, Catholicism, Judaism, theistic Vedanta, where divine grace is. Okay. Mayavada, there is no. And then, of course, in the Nastika schools, there is no God. So there is no concept of grace, to be very honest, going to the deeper philosophy. So I hope you find these kind of analogies helpful for the first way of looking at it. Satyena labhyaha. Okay. Now we can come to the colloquial sense of this. Satyena labhyaha. Only through truth you can reach him. Okay. That is it. The other way of looking at it. Okay. So thinking about this, Gita chapter 13, we come to this 20-point program, right? In that 20-point program, what did Krishna say in the first 5? He said, Amanitvam, Adambitvam, Ahimsa, Shantihi, Arjavam. These are the top 5 you need. Without this, no point you reading the Vedas. And in fact, he said the last 18, the last 3 only, he said, now come to the Vedas. Yeah. So who is going to tell us what is the meaning of Amanitvam and Adambitvam and Arjavam? So who is going to tell us what that means? Because that links directly to Satyena Labhyaha. No. Okay, Suresh, go for it.
Amanitvam means giving up of the name and fame, so to say. It's giving up of ego. Amana is what we say. So that is what Adambitvam is, claiming, making false claim, exaggerating or thinking more. Those two I could. Arjun, I'm not recollecting at this point.
Arjun is straightforward.
Thank you, Sushil. Beautiful. Yeah. So look at those top 5. The ones that he's saying, Amanitvam, Adambitvam, and Arjun, these comes only with truthfulness. Yeah. So that is the first point. If you are not truthful, no Shraddha, there is no scope, how much ever you study. Yeah. So Satyena Labhyaha, truthfulness is essential. Okay. So here it becomes interesting because the word Satyam and Ritam, for example, they come very often in our literature, in our Vedic literature, it comes all the time. Ritam and Satyam. Okay. So maybe we'll touch very briefly here what Ritam and Satyam is, because that is going to come an overarching discussion of Ritam and Satyam in the next verse. Yeah. Satyameva Jayati na Anritam. That is the next verse. So we will deal with that in detail. But just to tell you in brief, Ritam and Satyam. Ritam means that which is changeless or that which is Yathartha Jnanam, and putting something to practical use of the truth is Satyam. That is a very superficial sense, but we will go to the details. Again, Ritam does not mean real, and Anritam means unreal or mithya, as some philosophers want us to understand. No, Ritam means that which is changeless. There are lots of entities that are Anadi Nitya, Mula Prakriti, Veda, Brahman, Mukta Jivas, etc. Brahma eva ritam, anyad anritam Rigveda. Brahma eva ritam. Brahma has got so many meanings, as you know. It could mean our Brahman, it could mean Vedas, it could mean Mukta Jivas, it could mean Mahat Brahma, who is Mula Prakriti, Chetana Prakriti. It could mean even the Mula Prakriti. There are so many meanings of that. Okay, it does not mean just real and unrital. Unritam means mithya, ritam means real. They can keep their interpretation, but that is not the language of the Vedas. So here, Satyena Labhyaha means truthfulness, Shraddha, believing in something. Yeah, Shraddhavan labate jnanam, Ashraddadanaha dharmasyasya parantapaha aprapyamam. So Krishna has used those Shraddha and stuff, which is again talking about Satya. Okay. So how do you put those, how do you practice, how do you get those Satya? Okay. Satyena Labhyaha, truthfulness. Okay. But how do you get that? How do you bring that into volition? What do you do? Angirasa says 3 things. Okay. Satyena labhyaha tapasa hi esha atma samyak jnanena brahmacharyena nityam. So he said, you can get the Satya, that is that Satyanamaka Paramatma will shed his grace on you at some point when you do tapasa with samyak jnana and with brahmacharya, the three things that he says. Shilaji mentioned about Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Atma va are drashtavyaha Shrotavyo, Mantavyo, Nitidyasitavyaha Maitreyi. Okay, so think about this verse. Hold on to that thought because that becomes very, very relevant here and also in other Upanishads and Gita, where this tapas is discussed quite a lot. Tapasa. Okay. So I was just again doing a little bit of research to understand how many times has Krishna used the word tapas when he was having this conversation with Arjuna. So many times. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, 18 times. Interesting, 18. 18 times he has used the word tapaha in the Gita. Okay? And he has used the word tapas in two meanings, which is what the Upanishad is also saying. Tapas can mean austerity or tapas can mean penance. Those are the two meanings in which you can think about tapas. Okay? What is tapas when it comes to austerity? Regulation, restriction, isolation. So those are all some of the ideas that should come to us when we think about tapas or deep thinking, meditation, which is what we have in Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. Shrotavya, Mantavyo, you can do Shrotavya and Manana, but ultimately you have to go to Dhyana, deep meditation. That is what is Dhyana all about. Dhyana means you can't just blankly not think about anything. You have to think about something. Okay? You cannot do that. There are some other Nastika schools that kind of recommend that. But from a Vedic perspective, if you're going into meditation and if you're doing dhyana, you have to do dhyana about something. Okay? So that is nitidhyasa, penance. So that kind of meditation is penance in deep meditation, which is called tapas, tapa alochane. Okay? So austerity and penance. Okay, so we got number of verses in Gita that talks about austerity and penance. So I'm just going to ask one of us to recite 10:4 and one of us to pick up 18:3, please. That gives you an idea of austerity and penance, because austerity is regulation, right? And again, Krishna has said there are various types of austerities, and it can be at the level of body, mind, and at that level, in what you eat, what actions do you do, and so on. So you can check those austerities out in chapter 17. Whereas austerity initially gets discussed in 7, 9 and 10:4. So 10:4 and 5. So I could request one of us to take 10:5, please, and one of us 18:3. Who wants to do?
Shall I?
Yeah, Shilaji, go for it.
Ahimsa samata tushtihi tapodanam yasho yashah bhavanti bhava bhutanam matta eva prathak vidha. Shall I do the last
Yeah,
one?
go for the 18:3 as well.
Tyajyam doshavat iti eke karma prahurmanishinah yajnadana tapah karma natajyam natyajyam iti chapare.
Beautiful, Shilaji. Thank you. Thank you very much. So 10:5 talks about the austerities and 18:3 talks about the penance. And Krishna said there are only 3 karmas you can do: yajna, dana, and tapas. Yeah, those are all the real karmas. None of all others are just show. All that we do is show. Yajna, dana, and tapas are the true karmas. So think about tapas, austerity and penance. We have to have austerity and then we need to go into penance. Tapa alochane. You do tapa alochane with or of what? As I said, some Nastika schools will ask you to do meditation in blank. That is not what Vedic system prescribes. Vedic system says you need to do tapas with what? Samyak jnanena. Okay. Samyak. So remember Sankhya Yoga. Sankhya, Samyak Khyati. Second chapter of the Samyak Jnana is the Sankhya. Sankhya is Samyak Jnanena. Yeah. The name of the second chapter of the Gita, it's called, so I've answered this already. So even in Upanishads, you get these kind of ideas coming in. How does it come? In Katha and Chandogya, we'll see in a minute. So you do tapas with Samyak Jnana. The question is, how do you attain the true knowledge or Tattva Jnana or Yathartha Jnana? You attain that only by Brahmacharya. Okay. So they are all related. You do brahmacharya first. Through brahmacharya, you get samyak jnana. When you have samyak jnana, you go into tapa alochane. And when you go into sapa alochane, at some point, our Brahman is going to be pleased with you. Therefore, satyena labhyaha, that you will get that paramatma drishti, your antaryami drishti at some point in our careers. So that brahmacharya is very, very important. The third one. Sarve Vedaha yat padamamananti tapamsi sarvani cha yadvadanti yadichanto brahmacharyam charanti tatte padam sangrahena bravimi om iti etat. So this is in Katha Upanishad. Just to wake us up a little bit more, what is this conversation? What is this conversation between? Who are the two characters of Katha Upanishad? Very quick answer, please. Who is going to tell?
Nachiketa and Yama.
Nachiketa and Yama. Beautiful. Chandogya Upanishad. Tam hapita uvacha. Shveteketo vasabrahmacharyam navai somya asmat kulino ananyutya brahma bandhuriva bhavati iti. Vasabrahmacharyam navai somya asmat kulino ananyutya Brahma Bandhuriva Bhavati. So our Uddalaka Aruni is telling of Shveteketu. Shveteketu, why are you running around doing errands and naughty things and being a useless fellow, throwing stones everywhere and doing naughty things? Yeah, you're 12 years old. Go and do brahmacharya. Yeah, you don't want to be called as just a born in a family where everybody did brahmacharya. You should become a brahmacharya. Vasa brahmacharyam, his father tells him off when he's 12 years old. And then he goes to brahmacharya. He goes to brahmacharya, goes to a gurukula for 12 years, and 24 he comes there and stands like a pillar. Stabdayaya. Doesn't know the answer when his dad asked him. He's full of arrogance. We know that story. So brahmacharya can mean so many things. Brahmacharyam. Brahma means what? We know Brahma means Veda. Okay? Charya means adhyayana. Okay? To study is called charya. Study of what? Study of Brahman. Study of Brahma. Brahma means what? Veda. Study of the Vedas is called brahmacharya primarily. And what do you study in the Brahma, in Vedas? Not Aparavidya. Aparavidya is there in Vedas, but you need to study about the Paravidya. See the para in the Veda. So that is also called Brahman. Seeing Brahman in the Veda is called brahmacharya. Okay? To study and know about Brahman in the Veda, you need what? You need to have some discipline, celibacy, no distraction, indriya nigraha. When you do all this, then you are able to focus. And we all know if you want to write an exam, you have to be focused. If you want to do your university exam, you have to be focused. The same goes with brahmacharya. You have to be focused. So, with no distraction, indriya nigraha, celibacy, which is called brahmacharya. You study the Vedas, which is also called brahmacharya, and then you know the Brahman or the God or the Paramatma who is celebrated as Akshara. That is also called brahmacharya. So celibacy to study the Vedas to know Brahman is brahmacharya. So I put our usual interesting question: are we all brahmacharyas or not? Who thinks we are not brahmacharyas and who thinks we are brahmacharyas? Can we have a quick answer there, please? Are we brahmacharyas?
Madhuji, we are 100% brahmacharyas when we are doing Vedanta class.
Thank you, Shilaji. Yes, absolutely. Thank you so much. So we are all brahmacharya. So we don't have to feel, Veda said that Vasa brahmacharya means I have to go back to Gurukula and study. No, you can very well be in samsara and do brahmacharya, provided as Shilaji very rightly pointed, brahmacharya with no distractions, compartmentalize our lives. Of course, we have so many things to do as grihasthas. If we compartmentalize, you can become a vanaprastha or a sannyasa within your home. You can have your study room and do all this brahmacharya. Okay. So when you do this brahmacharya, let's do this verse and close today's session, 5-6 minutes. Antaha sharire jyotirmayo hi shubhro yam pashyanti yatayaha kshina doshaha. satyena labhyaha tapasa hi esha atma samyak jnanena brahmacharyena nityam. And when you do all this, what do you see? Antah sharire jyotirmayohi shubbraha. This antah sharira becomes interesting. Let me take through this. Sharira means what? Body, right? Sharira means you can say this pindanda is sharira. But inside the pindanda is the jiva, and the jiva is called shariri in Vedic literature. Okay? The jiva is called shariri. Okay? But inside the jiva, there is the Paramatma, who is our prana here, who is our satya here. He is called shariraka. Okay, that is very, very important. There are three stages here: Sharira, Shariri, Shariraka. That is why Brahma Sutra is called Shariraka Sutra. It is talking about Brahman. Brahman is called Shariraka because his Sharira is the Jiva. And Jiva Sharira is this Pindanda. So there are various levels of bodies. For us, this material body is the Sharira. But for the Antaryamin, our Jiva Swarupa itself is the Sharira. Okay, so think about this. Atomic Jiva has a form. If whether you like it or not, the Vedas say that they have a form. We don't know. They are subatomic, but still there is a contemplation that they have a form. And inside the Jiva is this Paramatma who is called Antah Sharire. Okay. Who is this Paramatma? Same Katha Upanishad also talks about same thing. Angushta matraha purusho antaratma sada jananam hrudihe taha tam swat sharirat. Inside them. This Paramatma himself is what? Katha Upanishad again says, Ashariram sharireshu anavasteshu avastitam Mahan Vibhum Atmanam Matva Dhiro Na Sochati. Think about the Ashariram. He doesn't have a material body, but he is still inside the material bodies. Okay. How is he inside the material bodies? Again, there is another way of looking at this Antah Sharira. We have five koshas, right? Annamaya, Pranamaya, Manonmaya, Vijnanamaya, Anandamaya that we have discussed. They are all modifications of the material stuff. Prithvi, Vayu, Tejas, Akasha, Manas, Buddhi, Ahankara, Chitta, Chetana. Inside this five is the five forms of Narayana. Aniruddha, Pradyumna, Sankarshna, Vasudeva, Narayana. So says Taittiriya Upanishad. When you read Brahmavali and Bhrigovali. Okay? So that is also Antah Sharire. Or inside you is your Antaryamin is also Antah Sharire. Yeah. So that becomes interesting in the sense that Tam Swat Sharirat Pravruhet. I want to bring this up here because this is important when, again, we have done it in Katha Upanishad. Yeah. So in Katha Upanishad, we did this. Angushta matraha purusho madhye atmani tishtati ishana bhutabhavyasya natato vijigupsate etadvai tat. Mahantam vibhum, we have done this. Tam vidyat shukram amrutam. Tam vidyat shukram amrutat. How? Tam swat sharirat pravruhet munja diveshikam thair. So what does that mean? Tam Swat. Swat means the Swatantra Namaka Paramatma. Sharirat. He is inside this body, the body of the Jivas. Pravruhet. This is very, 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 very important. This Pravruhet of Katha Upanishad where Yama has taught Nachiketa. We cannot conveniently miss those words. Pravruhet. Tam Swat Sharirat. Pravruhet means known as separate or distinct. In the Jivas, there is this chap. Know him as separate or distinct. How? Munjad iva ishikam. Munja grass, Ishika grass. We have done this before. Think about the Munja grass, Ishika grass, which is used in Vedic sacrifice and so on. Munja grass and Ishika grass, they can be together, but here the Rishi, Yama is saying, just as how you separate the Munja grass from the Ishika grass, take them separately for your yajna. Similarly, when you do your upasana, please be careful. There is the Atma, there is the Antaratma. Yeah, the Antaratma is different. Do like that is what Yama is teaching our Nachiketa. When you pluck munja grass, one has to be careful, separated from the ishika grass. Similarly, it is critical in dhyana to separate jiva and Brahman. Yeah. Dhairyena, perseverance with steadiness, be brave. Okay, so again, I'm never tired of saying when the Veda says antaha sharire, inside something. When I'm inside a house, I do not become one with the house. The house is there, I am there, I'm just inside the house. Similarly, jiva is there, inside the jiva is antaha sharire. So never forget those ideas. Antaha sharire, jyotirmayaha. This antaratma is what? He is jyotirmayaha. Okay, so we are about 1601 now. So let us pick up this Jyotirmaya in the next class. So we have done Satyena Labhyaha, Tapasahi Esha Atma, Samyak Jnanena Brahmacharyena Nityam, Antaha Sharire, he is inside you, Antaha Sharire. And what is he? Jyotirmayaha, he is Shubhraha. He who knows this Brahman like this, who? Yatayaha. Who are these Yatis? Not the modern fake gurus. Yati is described in an entirely different way. Who are the yatis? Yatayaha, who don't have any defects. Kshina doshaha. So we will pick that and then go to the most important verse. I feel in this particular part of this section, Satyameva Jayati Nanrutam. I thought I'll hit this today, but Krishna has said you have to wait for another week. Okay, so Satyameva Jayati Nanrutam. So once we have understood who that Satya is, then we understand what this Upanishad mantra is. Satyameva Jayati Nanrutam. In contrast with what is there in our Indian system, Satyameva Jayate. There is also a TV program called Satyameva Jayate. God knows where they have picked this Satyameva Jayati. It is Satyameva Jayati na Anrutam. So when we do this, we will understand what is Satya, what is Asatya, what is Rita, what is Anrita that is described in the Upanishad. And then try and understand this. Satyena Jayati na Anrutam, Satyena Panta Vitato Devayanaha. Beautiful. Yena Akramanti Rishayo hi Aktakamaha. Yatra tat Satyasya Param Nidanam is the next mantra. So we will do all this, lots of things to discuss. Thanks for joining us today. If there are any questions, we can take it up now. If not, we'll close. Yeah. Any questions? No worries. Sureshji, can you take us through Om and we close today's session, please?
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Sureshji. Take care, everyone. We'll catch up next week and we'll make our onward journey into this Kanda. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thank you.